Thank you to the other speakers. It's amazing to be back here. My heart is beating so fast. I heard at some point that, you know, if your heart is racing, you're sweating, it means you're nervous, and excitement, because your body kind of interprets it to one or the other, but it's the same. So I'm nervous and excited to be here, so thank you for having me. My name is Ivy. I'm homeless. Yes, quality and caliber that we bring to Inspired. 4 years ago, in LA, I decided to sell everything I owned, cars, extra clothes, donated a ton of stuff, and I was like, I'm gonna just pack up everything that I own in one suitcase and start traveling the world and see how that goes. Thanks, guys, super supportive. It's been a pretty crazy journey. 4 years without a home. I've been living in Airbnbs and staying with friends, staying in hotels, and gonna keep it really real with you guys as always. There have been some amazing experiences along the way. I kind of set off on this adventure, not really sure what I was looking for, but hoping that I would find myself to some extent in the process. And I did, but not in a way that I expected to. There was a moment when I guess one of the coolest things that I've done was at one point I went to Necker Island to go kite surfing and Richard Branson's back. So I'm like, this is forever my Facebook cover photo forever. And so I remember when I was there and just cool things, cool people. And at one point I'm standing on the balcony of something called the Bali Room, which is like an open shower looking out in the ocean. And I was just staying there by myself in the room as I have been for 4 years. And I was just kind of overwhelmed with a crushing loneliness. Here's all this amazing stuff that I'm doing, and why do I feel so lonely? Why do I feel so alone right now? And so that was a pretty big turning point for me, because I was like, okay, what's going on in my life? What's not going right? And I don't know if any of you have ever gotten to a point where you've accomplished something amazing, where you are doing something incredible, and you're just like, why? Where's that super peak happiness state I'm supposed to be experiencing? Why am I feeling alone in this? And so I kind of decided that was going to be my new venture, to figure out what was going on with this loneliness and trying to find a solution to it. And I'm pleased to share that I found a solution, and it may or may not work for everyone, but there are 3 components to kind of dealing with loneliness. Because when we're born into the world, we come in alone. And when we pass, we die alone. And in between, there are a whole series of experiences that we can have, and we are very often alone in them. That's just the nature of who we are. We have our own experiences, we have our own feelings, we have our own thoughts, and they're ours and ours alone. So the 3 things that I have discovered to overcome loneliness, I suppose. One is establishing some sort of mission and purpose. What is something bigger than you? I know for a long time I was like, I'm gonna do so many fun things for myself. What do I wanna do? I'm gonna go bungee jump off the Macau Tower. I'm gonna go to surf in Hawaii. I'm gonna go skiing in Chamonix. And it was all for me. And it didn't really do much for me because I wasn't positively contributing to anyone else's life. And I found that the smallest things I did for other people or with other people were so much more impactful than doing the most amazing thing alone and for myself. So some sort of greater mission, purpose, contribution, whether that's being the best possible auntie you can be, whether that's, starting a business that does, just global work, helping cure hunger and provide people fresh water, whatever it happens to be. What is your greater mission and purpose that you choose at this point in your life to contribute to others? The second is identity. Who are you? Are you someone who responds and reacts to things that happen to you? I guess you can respond 2 ways when things happen in life. You can react, kind of like, oh God, this is horrible, this is happening, from a whole bunch of patterns from your past, or you can kind of respond from more thoughtful, okay, I know who I am, I know why I'm reacting like this. Do I want to choose to do it or choose to respond differently? self-awareness, kind of coming to events like this, asking yourself really hard questions about, okay, why am I feeling lonely right now? What's happening? And so for me, I realized through the process of identity, there's loneliness and there's aloneness. And the dictionary will tell you that they're the same thing, but they're not. Loneliness is when you feel like something's missing. Like, I'm lonely. There should be someone else here. Right? There should be something else. Like, there's an emptiness. And aloneness is a space where you're alone and you're really comfortable and even joyful in that place because you know who you are, you know what you have to offer, you know your worth, you know you're valuable, you know you're precious and amazing. And that's okay because you're a pretty amazing person to spend quality alone time with. You know, you spend quality time with friends and family. It's okay to spend quality time with you too, and you absolutely should. So I remember there are times when, once again, keeping it super real and being really vulnerable with you, for a lot of the 4 years, I was on Facebook nonstop. Like, here's a picture of me doing this, here's a picture of me doing this. And it got to like a crazy point because I started doing things for the purpose of posting them on Facebook. To be like, oh my God, how many likes do I have? And I'm in this gorgeous place. I'm like, I just did this. Okay, who's noticing that I just did this? You know? And it's just like, what is this? What is this? How desperately am I seeking for validation outside of myself as opposed to being quiet, being still, and being okay if nobody else knows what's happening in my life. So yeah, identity is another one. And lastly, which is what I really want to talk about, which I really want to give as a gift to all of you tonight, is tribe, is community. I know for a long time I suffered from, I'm totally fine, I can do everything by myself syndrome. I don't know if any of you also suffer from that syndrome, but it's not one that I would recommend because I guess the moment that I realized I can't do things all by myself, nor should I, is when a couple years ago I discovered a lump in my right breast. And I was like, I'm fine, it'll go away, I'm fine, I don't need to worry about it. At this point, I didn't actually have health insurance. So I was like, I don't want to worry about that cost right now. And then it got bigger, and I was like, I should probably do something about this. But still I didn't. And at one point, one of my best friends in the world, a brother, my friend Joe Polish, was like, what's going on? Like, there's like a golf ball on your boob. And I was like, no, why are you looking at my boobs, Joe? But then I was like, okay, there's a lump and it's a problem and I don't have health insurance and I don't know what to do. And in a second, he was calling his friend who was a surgeon. They scheduled me the next day and I had it taken out. Thank goodness it was benign. But it was at that point I realized, like, maybe I shouldn't do things on my own and maybe I should reach out and ask for help if I need it. And okay, I'm gonna start doing that. And it's interesting because who in your life can you turn to if there's something you're really struggling with? I mean, do you trust them? You know, it's interesting because community is such a huge thing. We're the average of the 5 people that we are closest to, that we spend the most time with. And think about the 5 closest people in your life. And do they raise your average and your vibration, or do they kind of bring it down? Are they people who are complaining all the time, who are, you know, life is always against them, they're victims, or they're people who are like, okay, we can support each other, we can find a solution together, we can connect with people who can. And I've realized the importance of community building and tribe building. And so we have to be really, really intentional about the people who we keep in our lives, because they're either going to bring up our average or bring down our average. And I'm a huge fan, honestly, of doing some spring cleaning when it comes to friends and people in your lives, because everyone in your life right now takes up space. And they either take up space in your life and contribute to it, or they take up space and they detract from it. So don't be afraid to love people from a distance in order to create some space to intentionally fill it with someone who might be a better fit for where you are now or where you want to be. So one thing that I learned about making friends, how do you make friends, right? We're all here tonight. Maybe there's someone who you really want to be friends with, but you're like, oh my God, they're a new person. I don't know what I can do to talk to them about. No hike. So, all right, the gift that I'm going to give to you guys tonight is one little tip on how to become friends with anybody. So there's giving energy and there's taking energy. And you can tell, you know, as Lauren mentioned earlier, when someone has taking energy, when they're only coming up to you to get something. And our normal reaction is to be like, ugh, you know, that doesn't really feel good. So in my life, I've found that one surefire way to have anyone, you know, open up to you for the possibility of potential friendship is to provide value to them. What is one problem that they're struggling with that you can help solve? What's one way you can make their life a little more fun? What's one way that you can help them feel more understood? Because the deepest human need isn't love, it's understanding. You can love someone, but if they don't understand, you won't spend time with them. If there's someone who understands you and gets you, you'll want to be there for them and be there with them. So I would encourage all of you tonight to, number one, take a moment to close your eyes, and in the next 10 seconds, just breathe and be here with me. Deep breath. And think about one thing that you have to offer, one value that you embody that you can share with someone else. Knowing your value, knowing your worth, knowing how amazing you are as a person, as a friend. And to be open to sharing that with someone. And tonight, once again, you can open your eyes. I would really like to encourage you to approach one person and to ask them, what are you most excited in your life, and how can I support you in that? And just to provide value, opening with a giving energy as opposed to a taking one. And it'll be really interesting to see what happens. So have fun with that, guys. Thank you so much for having me.